All right, so let's get right into it. You know the classic advice, right? If your office is just draining, just add some plants. It's like the number one go-to solution for corporate wellness, this super simple fix to make our workspaces feel a little more human. But what if that potted fern on your desk isn't the magic bullet we all think it is? Today, we're going to dig into why that whole green office revolution might be missing a really crucial piece of the puzzle.
So you've got this clear contrast, right? On one side, there's the reality of a lot of modern offices, especially those big open plan ones. I mean, we know from tons of research they can be super distracting and even bad for our well-being. But then on the other side, you have this amazing promise of biophilic design, bringing plants and natural light and green window views into the office to make us all happier and more productive. Seems like a total no-brainer, a perfect solution, right?
And yeah, that whole idea, that's what we're calling the green office promise. It's the simple belief that just being around nature at work is going to automatically make us feel better.
But here's where things get really interesting. When researchers actually started digging into the data, the results were, well, they weren't nearly as clear-cut as you'd think. And that led them to this really fascinating question. If adding nature is the answer, why doesn't it always work?
And this is really the heart of the puzzle. For starters, some studies were finding that the positive effects of all these office plants were actually kind of small. Then other studies found that, okay, maybe you get a little short-term boost, but there weren't any significant long-term benefits to well-being. And maybe the most important clue of all, the impact seemed to vary wildly from person to person. So yeah, something else is definitely going on here. And it turns out the answer might not be in the office environment itself, but inside of us. The research started pointing to this idea of a deeper, more personal connection. So, to try and solve this puzzle, a team of researchers from Camillus University in Spain decided to completely shift their focus. Instead of just, counting the plants on people's desks, they started looking at a key personal trait of the employees themselves.
And this brings us to the absolute key concept here. They focused on a trait they call nature relatedness, or NR. Now, this is not just about whether you like to go hiking on the weekends. It's way deeper than that. It's a measure of how much you feel that your connection with the natural world is a core part of who you are, your identity. It's a stable, personal trait, almost like being an introvert or an extrovert.
So, to figure this out, they'd ask people to rate how much they agree with statements like this one. My relationship to nature is an important part of who I am. Just think about that for a second. How strongly would you agree with that? Because your answer might just be the key to figuring out if a green office is actually going to work for you.
Okay, so the researchers had their prime suspect, this idea of nature relatedness. Now it was time to unpack the clues and see how it all fit together to finally solve the mystery of the inconsistent office plants. So they measured 3 key factors across over 300 office workers. First up was nature exposure, or NE. Super simple. How much nature can you actually see from your desk? We're talking plants, green window views, even photos of nature. The second thing was vigor. This is that feeling of having a lot of energy and mental resilience while you're at work. And the third clue, of course, was each person's own underlying nature relatedness, their NR score. So the big question became, how do these 3 pieces of the puzzle actually fit together? The plants you see, the energy you feel, and this core part of your personality. The researchers basically had 2 rival theories about how it all works.
Okay, theory number 1 was what they call the moderator theory. And listen, don't get too caught up in the diagram. The idea itself is pretty simple. This theory says that just seeing nature at work gives everyone a little boost of energy. But if you're someone with high nature relatedness, your personality acts kind of like a volume knob. It takes that small effect and just cranks it way up, amplifying it and making it much, much stronger. So in this version, everyone benefits a little, but nature lovers benefit a lot more.
But then you have the rival idea, the antecedent theory. And again, just focus on the core concept here. This one suggests something totally different. It says your nature relatedness doesn't just amplify the effect, it comes first. It's the starting point for the whole thing. The theory goes that if you have that strong connection to nature to begin with, you're just more likely to notice and really pay attention to the plants and views around you. And that attention is what gives you the boost in vigor. So here, your personality isn't an amplifier, it's the trigger that kicks off the entire process.
So there you have it, 2 competing theories. Is your connection to nature just an amplifier, or is it the spark that lights the whole fire? Well, let's see which theory won. And after crunching all the numbers from those 300-plus workers, the evidence pointed clearly to one winner. It was Theory B, the antecedent model. It turns out your personal connection to nature isn't just some nice add-on. It is the absolute foundation of the entire effect. So let's break down how they figured this out. First, they found that there's an indirect link. Just seeing nature doesn't directly make you feel better about your job. There's no straight line from nature exposure to job well-being. Nope. There's a middleman in this whole operation.
And that middleman is vigor. Seeing nature from your desk boosts your energy and your mental resilience first. It's that boost in vigor that then, and only then, leads to you feeling better about your job. So you can think of vigor as the engine here. It's what translates seeing a plant into actually feeling good about your work.
And here is the big reveal, the final piece of the puzzle. When they added nature relatedness, the NR, into the full model, it showed up right at the very beginning of the chain. A person's high nature relatedness leads them to notice and appreciate their nature exposure, which then boosts their vigor, which finally improves their well-being. The entire chain reaction starts with your personality.
So let's just put that as plainly as possible. If you are someone who feels that deep, personal connection to nature, you're way more likely to actually notice and then draw energy from the plants and window views in your office. But if you're not, those exact same green elements might as well be wallpaper. They just fade into the background and have little to no real effect on you.
Now, this is so much more than just a cool psychological finding, right? This has some really big implications for how we should be thinking about and redesigning our workspaces.
So what does this all mean for the future of office design? What's the big takeaway here? How do we use this?
Well, here are the key takeaways. First, biophilic design. Adding nature, it does work. But, and this is a huge but, it is not one size fits all. The benefits are totally driven by an employee's pre-existing connection to nature. Now think about what that means. You could, in theory, allocate the workstations with the best green views or the most plants to the employees who have the highest nature relatedness to get the biggest bang for your buck. Ultimately, what this all points to is a more personalized approach to office design.
And that really leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question, doesn't it? Should your office be personalized to your personality? I mean, think about it. We personalize our phones, our coffee orders, our music playlists, everything. So as we learn more about this deep connection between our environment and who we are on the inside, maybe it's finally time we started personalizing our offices too.